How's that? Can people hear me now? Should be able to. This isn't going to have any filters on it, unfortunately. Okay, I had to establish. Unfortunately, guys, my apologies. The system that I'm using to talk to Pedro here stole all my stole all my microphone and camera stuff. So I had to adjust on the fly there. Hopefully, my sound isn't too crazy. I don't have a filter set up for this type of setup I just initiated. So apologies in advance for that. I guess we'll start at the top. Every other week we're going mute off the top, and darn it, Pedro, it happened on this one. So once again, welcome aboard, Typology Fanatics. I'm your Genzennial host, Brian, and I'm thrilled you found your way to this week's live stream. Tonight we have a very special guest to speak with. You've heard from him already. His name is Pedro, aka Papa Romeo on YouTube. I'd highly recommend you check him out, and all the relevant links are in the description. Welcome aboard the SS Genzennial, Pedro.
Pleasure to be here.
Now that I've seen, thank you, chat, for alerting me to the dealio. As far as the okay, we do have comments, but the problem is, I think I need to reconnect to this one, folks. Bear with me 1 second. And then we'll have the little bubble. We'll have the little tiny bubble that everybody likes to see, right? Okay, live Q&A. We're going to enter the studio. And yeah, thank you, Winston's mom, for bringing that up. I meant to... All right. Well, apparently, we might be having issues on the StreamYard side tonight. We might not get the little bubble that everybody likes. But we'll make it work. I'm going to make it work otherwise. All right. Yeah, thank you, Winston's mom. When you guys do have a question directly, obviously everybody's going to be chatting it up in the chat, that kind of thing. If you do have a direct question, it'll be a lot easier for me to identify it if you would please put like a Q and then a dash in front of it, and then I'll do the best I can to not miss anything. Okay, all the speed bumps are out of the way, and here we are, Pedro. So let's get the FI stuff out of the way real quick. Who are you and what do you care about?
Well, contrary to popular belief, I care about people a lot. I care about how far to keep them away and how close to pull them near, and somewhere within all that, I seem to do other things and pay my bills and whatnot.
Right on. Do you attribute, like, how much do you attribute your pulling and pushing with people? How much do you attribute that to your type versus like nature versus nurture? Like if we see our type as nature and our upbringing as nurture, do you find any conflict there?
Great question. How much jargon can I use?
All day long, buddy. All day long.
All day. All right. So basically, if I've typed my parents correctly, they're both double deciders, excuse me. To them, people are just part of the deal. They don't seem to be motivated or frazzled by them too much. And I grew up wondering how it is that they didn't either pay more respect, more consideration, to them in general. So as far as the nurture side is concerned, I didn't learn how to be concerned about people from them. On the contrary, I was more concerned that they weren't.
Interesting.
Or excuse me, that's the nurture side. Excuse me. As far as the nurture side is concerned, so
yeah.
I believe I'm more nature
embodied. Yeah. Well said. You mentioned there was a few terms that you used there that were objective personality specific. And
Correct.
so, real quick, I'd like to, for the folks out there who aren't familiar with objective personality systems, they're a typing philosophy run by Dave and Shannon. Their information is in the description below. Uh, I don't Dave's superpowers, and I don't know what they're too much about them in that regard. But anyway, good people, good typology type theory. They do use a lot of terms that are unique to their system. So tonight, without like going behind the weeds and everything, and into stuff they don't advertise. I'm hoping to talk to Pedro a little bit about his experience with objective personality systems, and yeah. Well, I've been mentioning them in my videos ever since the very beginning. I've been watching objective personality videos since the very beginning. That's where I really like the way Dave does his videos. The older ones with the colored bubbles. I thought those were really helpful. And so everything tonight is going to be positive objective personality. If you're deep into the typology weeds, you know that there's always going to be people who argue this and that about different philosophies. That's not going to be what we're going to do here tonight. So if anybody has anything, you know, uh, anything to say about that, it probably just won't get addressed. To put it lightly. So with that said, how long have you been with them, Pedro?
I believe I've been with them, I would just say approximately over 2 years.
Wow, right on, right on.
Yeah.
So how long have you been into typology then?
It would probably be about, I would say, 7 to 8 years or now.
No kidding, no kidding.
Yeah.
And for anyone who is going to visit Pedro's channel, and again, I highly recommend it. You have like a bit of an evolution that occurred there. Would you want to talk about that at all?
Sure. So, according to OPS, or objective personality, most people who take the self assessments type themselves what they call upside down and backwards. We end up as people seeing what we are actually most deficient in. It's what gives us the most angst, the most trouble, that pesters us. So when we get certain questions asked, those are the ones we're going to say, yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me. When in reality, you're not paying attention to how calm, cool, and collected you are with other functions. So it's not to say that you can't take a self quiz and get it right, but in general psychology, it's stated that no one can really self assess. You have to be observed by a professional. So that's one of the services that they offer. In my case, I got it halfway right. I got the IP part right. Um, but I was thinking that I was an INFP in the beginning rather than an ISTP. And the explanation for that is that I was sensing all my emotional issues regarding humans.
For
You know,
sure.
the strong things that would come over me. What do I do with this happiness, with this sadness? You know, I don't even know where to put anger, et cetera, et cetera. And they're like, yeah, that's because you have what they consider inferior extroverted feeling. And for me, it's front and center. But go figure, it's at the end.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that. I can absolutely relate to that. If I were to, um, well, self-assess, it would be that I focus most on my FE, and I think that says a lot about where somebody wants to go as a person, especially when it comes to those of us with low feeling. If anything, it says that we're trying, right? So it's but yeah, for sure, that's been the longest, for me. SE just seems to come naturally. How about you? It's like you don't even think about it, do you?
No, as a matter of fact, if I'm ever overfeeling anything or trying to process my future with introverted intuition or NI, nothing puts that fire out more than just getting my hands on a project, going out on a long bicycle ride or motorcycle ride, beach, anything that just overindulges the senses gets me out of that other space.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Getting out of that other space. I think I use video games that way. It's almost like I
Mhm.
need to the space for a while and just go somewhere where it comes at me. There's no
Mhm.
thinking about it when you're out there. And yeah, I totally get it. You mentioned the tests, so you tested out as INFP and
Four times.
4 times. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never self-assessed on a test as an ISTP. That's you're right in when you talk. Okay, I lost my spot there. Um, what was what were your feelings when that realization after joining ops and you realized, oh, it's this? Was it like exciting or scary, or how did you feel about that?
Well, um, my concern my concern was that they were going to tell me I was not an IP. I wasn't as concerned with the middle two letters. Um, there's a term that they use in ops that's called glass lizard, where they say that the 16 types have types within the types. There's like a spectrum of, in our case, ISTPs. Not all of us are created equally. Um, and they explained to me that as this glass lizard ISTP, I act on my inferior extroverted feeling, which to the observer would make me look almost like an EJ, because I do engage people a lot more than your stereotypical ISTP. Um,
Yeah, and right there you get cast with FI. When you're doing those things,
and
right?
they explained to me that's why they say, well, you would think you'd have FI because and they give you this whole assessment over audio, and I was very relieved to find out that I was still an IP. If they told me I was an IJ, I really would have had everything upside down and backwards.
Yeah.
I'd have to reassess 7 years of thinking I knew myself. Um, but that wasn't the case, and there was a term and a whole classification for what is essentially the most extroverted ISTP in the whole spectrum.
Okay. Yeah, I tell you, man, I think I mean, you and I could be type twins. I'd probably have to sign up for the program and do all those things, and all that. But in all the contributions you've made to the channel, and I'd have to say for sure, it's like every single time you just keep nailing it, and yeah, that's why I wanted to have you out here. So, um, thank you for that info. We'll get on to the next one here. Um, what what do you find beneficial now that you know you're an ISTP? Did you find more confidence in anything, or are you more careful about certain things? How did that help you be more self-aware?
Um, it took some time to download what an ISTP is supposed to be. Like all of us know, there's a million and one websites, and a good handful of them are really good as far as their description of the types and what each cognitive function does in relation to the other ones. But you can read and read and read, but you still have to somehow assimilate this information into what I guess ISTPs would see like a working framework of personality typing or just personality. So typical to the ISTP, I've already lost my place.
Yeah.
uh, what was that question again?
Just like what types of like it's almost like once I realized I could dial I understood what I use the cognitive functions as like a map. So where did you see some strong points that were brought to you through the understanding you're an ISTP, and where did you finally see weak points in
Okay,
that regard?
so I felt justified in my way of thinking with introverted thinking. How I used to think I had a very negative self view, how hard I was on myself, that I should be like all sort of self help, and people say you should accept yourself and be happy and this and that. I'm like, I'm not. And this being really hard on myself, I thought was a nurture thing from my growing up, and it turned out it's just extra introverted thinking. That's the way we are.
Yeah.
So once I was able to accept that I wasn't a broken human, I was like, oh, okay, well, let's run with this. Let's see how far this goes. And by not fighting myself, I've been able to apply myself to the things that matter, distance myself from the ones that don't, and navigate people and things, situations much better.
Right on. Right on. So is this do they talk much about Hero's Journey? They have some videos on Hero's Journey and Ops, and I was wondering, it's that seems to encompass your hero's journey. How are you doing on that? Do you think you're doing all right?
Well, once again, with masculine introverted thinking first, I'll never think that I'm doing good. I'll always have something else to master, something else to perfect. But I know, because of ops and a lot of life experience and some silver hair, that I'm much better than I was off 2 years ago, and much better off than I was 7 years ago.
Yeah. So would you say before you came to those understandings, you, if I was hearing you right, your biggest struggles were um, trying to trying to find out why you felt it was important to accept the tribe, right? That we use that word a lot in ops. I watch so many other videos. If I feel like I'm almost a part of it. Um, anyway, I'm gonna move on here. What's your favorite function? It could be any of the eight.
Oh boy. Oh, it could be any of the eight.
Or I guess before I go that far, they don't at ops. It's only the top four, right? There's not a bottom.
Correct. They say constantly that we all do everything. So regardless of your type, your function, they say all humans do all of the functions at some point.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just what we focus on.
Okay.
So they don't exclude it necessarily, but they don't really mention it past the four functions of a type.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see. I see. What's your go-to? What's your favorite?
Oh man, I mean, what I do every single moment of my waking life is try to understand things myself. It's a very IP and TI way of of living.
Okay.
Um, and after that, I always default to SE when it gets too thick in here. So
Okay. So, what's your relationship with NI then?
and I have a we're like good friends that see each other every once in a while and never skip a beat in those pauses. But Ni is very truthful. It's very direct, and it's very harsh.
Okay.
Uh, and it's difficult to accept the things that I've filtered down, as the introverted intuition does, the concept that I understand of things that I'm doing in my life or as it relates to other things. But over time, the voice isn't as loud, it's not as harsh, and you learn to take it as constructive criticism.
Okay. Now, would that be like when you're when you like for me that strikes me as like in my situation that would be like I'm considering involving myself in a conspiracy theory or something, and then I'll be like, okay, no, that's a bad idea, right? Bad NI, right? Is it anything like that?
Well, it's interesting that you should say that because that's a fun way to use NI. NI is usually they believe that the Illuminati exists. You got to wear a tinfoil hat. 5G is going to kill us all. And
That's all
but
NI fourth. That's all NI fourth. Though. That's all the ISTPs doing that shit.
the thing about ISTPs in specific, or anybody who has what they call the observing functions, the non-feeling and thinking ones in the middle, is that we'll think or we'll realize those things, but it won't get us in a chokehold. It won't bring us to our knees. We can think,
Yeah,
well, yeah, aliens exist, and yeah, what if? Well, back to SE reality or whatever I'm thinking about at the time.
yeah,
So we can dance with it.
yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. I agree 100%. So on the other side, what's your least favorite? What do you feel like you struggle with the most?
I want to say it is also NI. Um, uh, Ops has this other part of their system is what they call the animal stack. It's how the functions interact with each other and what that produces as far as behaviors are concerned. In my case, even though FE is my inferior function, the fact that I'm this glass lizard means that I have it a little bit stronger than I do my NI. I ping off of it more than I do my NI. So what that means, to
Okay.
bring it into as few words as possible, is that I have a very hard time planning. I have a very hard time sticking to things that I know I should be doing, that I TI know I should be doing. Uh,
Amen, brother.
and even if this voice tells me the things that you're doing with these people are only going to lead to X, Y, and Z, I have a hard time pulling away from it nonetheless because I don't want to believe what it's telling me.
Yeah, yeah. That SI critical parent. It's a real
Mm.
party pooper, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Let's get on over into the chat here.
Cool.
I'm going to, if we want everybody, we're going to take just a second here to see if I can redo my. I'm going to see if I can redo my window here. I want to interact.
Going to the chats is technically engaging the tribe.
Yeah, yeah. We're about to do some FE, brother. We're about to do some FE. Well, I think what I might have done earlier is I may have set it up. And we're dropping a few frames too. Hopefully it doesn't get too bad out there, folks. Sorry about that. All right, well, I'm not going to be able to do the little bubbles tonight. My apologies to everybody. So we'll just go down the list here. We'll jump over and start looking for cues. Question for Pedro from Winston's mom. Papa Romeo is used in radio comms, the phonetic alphabet. Were you in the military?
Um, I was not, but that is very observant. Yeah, that's where I got my Papa Romeo from. My initials are PR.
Right on, right on. Winston's mom question for the Genzennial. Don't you feel very much relieved that Coach R has affirmed your personality type and declared you are definitively an ISTP? Cool video over on his channel. Do I feel very much relieved? no. To be honest with you, I was just trying to get some content. If he agreed with me, we were going to be able to, you know, I'd have a video on his channel, and then I'd link that video on my channel, and there'd be a mutual benefit there. And if he didn't agree with me, then I was going to make him into content. So I didn't really care either way. Once it was, I don't really need anybody to tell me I'm an ISTP. To be honest with you, I figured that out, and I felt good about it. And a few people have said, okay, yeah, sure, and that's kind of like some sort of validation. But no, no, it was for content. It was for content. Winston's mom said that Pedro had a good observation there on nature and nurture. She says the logos and ethos, sun and moon. Now, Pedro, how do you feel about, do you stretch out any further beyond astrology for nerds into, like, other things?
I have a friend who she's really into the Enneagram, and I've taken a self-assessment many years ago, and I lost the results. She swears that I'm a 9.
Okay.
And I've read the description, and although I don't agree with it 100%, I'm also not very versed in that, so I don't have what we would call the ST or the reasons to say why not.
Yeah.
So I go with it because she goes with mine, so I go with hers.
Right on, right on. It's interesting. I've dabbled around the edges. There's a video on the channel here where I had a live stream with Peter Dendici, and he helped me understand a little bit more. So they have the Enneagram, where it's just the number, and then there's also like the quote-unquote tri-types, where there's 3 numbers. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody toss around 3 numbers before. But yeah, if you ever do get into that, take a look at 5 also. 5 would be pretty close to you as well, I would think.
Okay. And take notes.
It's out there that I basically got it out there. I'm either in the tri-type, I'm a 593 or a 583. Leaning 583 for reasons like reasons like I mentioned earlier, how I tend to be not necessarily looking for conflict, but it's kind of like, well, if it shows up, then I'm okay with dealing with it. How do you feel about conflict, whether it's FE or SE or anything like that?
Well, it depends on the type of conflict. I don't look for fights. As a matter of fact, I try to avoid conflict very much because it brings out a surge of emotional stuff to deal with. So hitting somebody would be easier than arguing with them.
I'm really glad you said that. On occasion, host Eric Strauss talks about, I believe it's host Eric. Occasionally he'll be talking about what we feel when we feel an emotion, what we physically feel when we feel an emotion. Do you get a lot of those physical feelings? Because when you mentioned that, about the only time I actually get a physical sensation is in a conflict situation. Like, if I know that a fight's about to happen, I'm okay with fighting, but it's kind of like, it's almost an anxiety. Do you ever feel like that?
If you don't mind my asking, where and what do you feel physically?
It's almost like a tenseness in my torso. Like my torso feels like it's one of the few physical things. Some people say they get like a lump in their throat when they get sad or something. I have no idea what that means. Never felt that before. But the only time I get like a physical sensation over a feeling is like when I know that conflict is inevitable. I was wondering if you ever felt that way.
Well, the what I would feel, the one physical feeling that stands out the most is somewhere in the middle or closer, like behind my heart. I'll start getting a. It's not. It's kind of like if something startles you, you get that kind of rush in your chest, right by your lungs, but it's more subtle. I could feel it growing and growing. I don't know if that is attributed to cortisol, the stress hormone, or adrenaline because the fight or flight is going to ensue. Um, I'll get that one if I have to tell somebody something that's going to let them down. Once again, it's all emotional related or disappoint somebody.
Right. Yeah, I guess when I
Um,
mean conflict, it's almost like when you know somebody is going to be hurt in some way, shape, or form
yeah,
in this situation. You know.
like I'm the worst person to to break up with somebody to with because as the internet says, we're emotionless. So I'm like, well, this is the truth, and this is why I no longer want to hang around with you. So I just want to tell you straight out because why prolong the inevitable? But since I know people have emotions and they deal with them differently than I do, I get tripped up on how much or how little to say, and I'll drag it out for 3 or 4 days. All the while, that feeling here grows and grows.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Let's see if we have other cues for us. Winston's mom has a question. Like an ISTP, I lost my place, in quotes. Whoa, the Ginsennial does this. Is this an ISTP thing? Yeah, how often are you chatting, but then kind of lose your spot?
Every day,
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah, I always thought that was because I took too many hits in football and wrestling. I was like, I probably have CTE. Um, but then it kind of came to me that, oh, other ISTPs kind of do this too. And it's not just like some kind of brain malfunction from, I probably do have CTE actually, but.
There's an explanation for it.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So the idea is STs are very based in reality with the sensory and the thinking. We're very logical and critical. So when we go to explain something to somebody will ask us a question. And in order to thoroughly explain and give this answer to somebody so they can understand it to the depth that we do, we start explaining everything around it, the backstory, the reasons, the philosophies, the how we got here and the how they got there. And it's
Because
this
nuance
very,
matters, right?
well, to us and to other types, but not so much to the intuitives, for instance. They're not into that. They just like, get me to the point. So as we're explaining this beautiful, detailed, filled, and rich, backstory to get you to this one answer, we easily lose our place uh, trying to get there. So we come back around, but it
Yeah.
takes us a long time if we do.
Yeah, it's almost like the final point is at the end of an Amazon river. Right? There's a million different branches that we need to traverse in order to have the context to finally, come out at the other side. And
Beautifully
sometimes those
stated, yeah.
branches get twisty and turny and you run ashore and that's yeah. I guess maybe do you think that's you think any seventh has anything to do with that?
I'm sorry,
Do
any
you think
seventh.
any seven has anything to do with that, or do you think it?
Well, if it does, I don't have the explanation for it.
Yeah, of course you don't. Of course, it's any seven for you, chat. It's any seven for you. Okay, Winston's mom question for Pedro. Well, she asked, "Is he an Enneagram 1?" And he mentioned he believes he's a 9.
I've been told.
Right. Yep. You've been told you're a 9. Don't be shocked if you read 5 and be like, oh gosh, it might be a 5.
I wrote it down here on my notepad. I'm gonna look that up.
It's a pretty cool system. It's basically it's a lot of fear-based stuff, which
Hmm.
which kind of I think kind of overlaps with OPS a little bit. Dave, in his hero journey type rhetoric, is talking about how you got to climb the mountain, face your fears, conquer that
Hmm.
FE. For us, right? All those things. And Enneagram kind of is in a similar spirit where it kind of points out your flaws a little bit, the things
Okay.
that that you're kind of like the things you're scared of almost. Uh, Not an expert here, but that's you're at step 1. I'm at like step 2, so there's a little hint onto step 2 for you, and maybe one day
Okay.
we'll both get there. But all right, chat. Thanks for being here, everybody. How's the stream holding up, folks? I think, gosh, it looks like we've had a rough go at it tonight on the stream side, which is kind of surprising to me. But I don't see too many comments about it, which is good. That's good. Boba Fett says 2 ISTPs walk into a bar. They're the maintenance crew. What do you think about ISTP stereotypes? Do you have any that annoy you, or any that you're like, yeah, damn it, that's it for sure?
Um, I used to think that most of them were nonsense, because no one gets to see all the feelings that are happening back here. So I would see like, oh, it's we're dry, we're too blunt, we don't care. And then like once I really started to practice my FE and step out and interact with people, it's not that they were giving me any feedback, but I could actually see from their point of view how most, if not all, the stereotypes are rather accurate. You know, I'm here on the channel with you smiling a lot. We
If,
smile, but when we're having to interact with people, you know, we're not, I don't know, in a close relationship with. It's,
yeah, it takes
you know,
energy to do what we're doing right now, doesn't it?
a lot.
Like
Well,
the
not with us. At least not. I don't feel it with you, but sure, yeah.
but like the constant, like you said, the constant smiling, right? I've been FE focused on trying to emote better
Hmm.
for decades, right? We've all heard the "you're a robot" thing, and why are you mad? And well, I'm not mad, and you know, explain your relationship with that part of your FE and how you kind of grew into understanding that about yourself.
About people thinking that I'm mad when I'm not, or
Yeah, just
misunderstanding it.
general how the ISTP stoicism stereotype, and how do you get over that? Because a lot of people are like almost offended by, oh well, we didn't emote the right way or something, right? Do you ever get that?
Uh, People, yes, I have. This plays out a lot at work. We're a crew of 8 or 9 males in an engineering and technical department, and it seems that 5 of them, the weight is more on people that want to feel good and have some kind of camaraderie before the productivity begins. And on that sliding scale, I am probably the first or the second one that wants to get all the business and hard stuff out of the way before I can relax.
For sure.
So I do get comments, especially from the more extroverted ones, that they say, "Oh, look, Pedro's in a great mood today," all sarcastically, or "Hey, he's being his chipper self. Can't you hear him on the other side?" And I set that guy aside and I said, "I got shit to do, and mainly it's the shit you're not doing. So if you can cut me a break and leave me alone, perhaps we can get along." He was hurt, and I didn't
Yeah,
care so.
yeah, yeah, and that's the I bet that's that's kind of the conflict thing that I was explaining earlier. Like, I'm not sure if I'm not sure I've ever had the cojones to do that in the workplace with somebody. My FE is a little bit, weaker, I guess, in the way that I'll kind of, like I had a job where there was the front office guy. He was a toucher, right? He'd come up behind me and put his hands on my shoulders, and it's kind of like, as many times as he did that, I was never like, dude, if you fucking do that again. I just kind of was like, okay, this is something about the world that I have to deal with. Some people are going to do this, and I have to deal with it. Even though I wanted to tell him, dude, just please, don't. you know. So you have a little bit. It sounds like you're a little bit stronger there with that one. Good on you. Good on you.
It took a while, and that feeling that I was telling you about built for a couple of weeks until I'm like, this guy's not even letting me do my job, and he's
Yeah.
asking
Okay.
me for help, and I can't even help him because he's interrupting me helping him, and I'm like, this is not
Okay. So yeah, this is somebody who's actually slowing your life down in a substantial way. So,
substantial. Yes,
okay. Yeah. Yeah. That is different. Yeah. That
and
would
he
be a
was
little
a
bit
toucher
different.
also. Yeah, so he just had everything. I was like, Slayer. I'm just like, dude, I gotta set this guy aside because
Oh yeah. 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 For sure. I had another question and I lost. I tell you what. It's becoming a curse. I think I should probably bring notepads to these things from now on because. But you know what? That's the FE fourth. Is I would I would think, should I be writing notes instead of paying attention? Because sometimes when, anyway, how are we doing in chat, folks? Winston's mom says she's a 549. Mind, body, spirit, and soul. Based on Plato's tri-type theory of the soul. Interesting, Winston's mom. Plato. Good stuff. Fly Guy's talking about STDs. No, ISTPs. Oh, right. It was. I guess it wasn't a good question. It was. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I've survived to the age of 42.
You're 42.
Yes, sir.
Right on. Right on. I'm 43. I'm 43. So you're a Genzennial, brother. I thought you were younger than that. I thought you were,
No.
mid to late 30s or so. That's cool, man. Where generally geographically are you located?
I'm in South Florida.
Okay. Has Florida been
My,
has Florida been your home forever?
um, unfortunately,
How do you feel about the Florida man? The Florida man
uh,
stereotype.
I think the Florida man should be given some credit for, to use your word, the cojones that they have to do the things that he does. No, I haven't run into any Florida men myself,
Okay.
but I'd rather be recognized for doing something crazy than never have existed.
Yeah.
So, go Florida man.
Whenever I think of Florida man, I think of there's a short out there of a headbanger type guy in the middle of a hurricane, and he's
Yeah,
headbanging in the middle of a hurricane, and it's just like
yeah.
I would,
I've seen that. Yeah, like,
I
why
would.
not? We're not worried about the physical react. That's another thing about ISTPs, the stereotypes. They say that we're very calm, cool, and collected in the face of adversity or danger, calamity. Where other types would panic and freak out. We're like, what's the objective? What do we got to do? Is the cat in the flaming tree? Just give me a ladder. I'll get it down real quick, or save the baby from the car in the lake. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like it's. I think it's part of the fact that we are, as people say, disconnected from our emotions. where panic and fear would take over and keep us from doing something, we're like, we just see an objective and we try to do it, and sometimes even to our detriment. But other people would call that cool. I would call that, though, this has to be done. So it's like two sides to a coin.
I totally get it. Are, when did you have you has the ISTPs are cool? Is that thing been going on for as long as you knew about typology, or is that a recent? You've been in this a long time, far longer than I have. Has that always been a thing? I think it's probably the most overrated stereotype about us. What do you think?
I want to ask you, why do you feel it's overrated?
Because why is cool being important?
Well, to feeling types, somebody who can keep it together in the face of any kind of
Oh,
stress or
cool,
adversity.
cool under stress. Okay, I meant there's also a stereotype that we're like cool, right? Like,
Well, yeah, that goes hand in hand
okay,
in the
okay, go
sense
ahead. I
that, like,
apologize.
no, no. So let's say we're very hypothetically speaking here, an ISTP walks into a club, and we're hanging out in this loud, noisy club. The fact that we're probably out of our element, feeling a little uncomfortable, everyone's drinking, having a good time, looking to score, whatever, dance. That's not our thing. So if I had to imagine, well, actually, I've been in that situation against my will. I usually find the darkest corner where there's the fewest people, put my hands in my pockets, lean up against the wall, and just kind of ride the night out.
Same. And
So,
then
with
you
beer
get
in my
but then you
hand.
get labeled as mysterious, right?
Aloof, mysterious. But all these opinions and all these stereotypes that we are given, or any type is given, is just a perspective of another type.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I I have this thing that I tell people, because a lot of people come to talk to me. You'd figure this stoic person, no one would want to speak their problems, to us or to me, but they do. I tell people all the time. I said there is no good or bad in this world. Things just are, and it's the opinions and the spin that we put on them that make them what they are. So I try to approach everything in life like that. This is bad. No, this is just this. This is good. No, it's not good. It is just this. So that is kind of a stoicism, or like a lack of emotion from another's perspective, or cool from another, or it just depends who you're talking to, really.
That's that's far more mature than I could have said it. Well said. Thank you for that. Our chat our chat appears to be out of questions. Chat, you let me down tonight. I demand questions, chat, or you'll walk the plank. You guys will. I guess I should get it out there right now. You're gonna start hearing more ship references, more captain references. I referenced the SS Genzennial this evening at the top. Uh, you know how it is being a YouTuber, Pedro. Um, we're not the we're not exactly cast for this business, right? So what I've been
Sure.
doing is I've been trying to figure out how can I just throw it all to the wind, and I hopefully hopefully somebody will have a look over at Genzennial Gaming, because pretty soon I'm going to be launching a whole new deal over there, and it's going to be far out of the ISTP realm. So um, I've been pretty excited about that, and basically the theme is a ship. It's Captain Genzennial and the SS Genzennial. And do you play video games, Pedro?
I used to play obsessively a long time ago.
Okay, what was your first console?
Well, I was much younger. It was the Atari. I
Right
started
on.
out with the Atari.
Yep.
Worked my way through, Nintendo, Genesis, Sony PlayStation, and I think the last one I had was the PlayStation 2.
Okay. Okay. And what games did you play? Do you remember?
Uh, I had a lot of favorites. I got into role playing towards the end. I like the Gran Turismo series.
Me too. Loved it.
Um, on PC, my addiction was real time strategy games. I was
Okay.
highly into StarCraft, Warcraft, Warhammer.
Yeah.
Um, those were the ones that I had a really hard time putting down. Just
Okay.
5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes.
What, if you don't mind me asking, what made you walk away?
um, Towards the end, I was trying to get my life in order as far as finishing college, starting my career. Um, I found that there was a lot of systems that you can play with in the real world that weren't necessarily, systems in video games. You just kind of translated that into reality. Uh, I work in television, and it was very hard to get into that industry. So I had to focus a lot in meeting people, showing them my worth and that I could be accountable and et cetera, et cetera. So all my focus went into that. So I was working full time, interning full time, entertaining a girlfriend, and I had a lot of other things going on that I didn't have the time that much to really sit and enjoy with video games. So I occupied it with other things.
Okay. Okay. So it
I
wasn't like
miss
a,
them.
yeah.
I miss them. It's not like I don't, but
Yeah.
you know.
Like, do you like, I mean, do you, what do you play on the shitter? Do you play games? Do you play games before you go to bed? Any games at all anymore? Like on your phone or
Not,
anything?
not. I have a few there just in case of an emergency, but no.
Wow. So
What I
you,
do is
that sounds like cold turkey left gaming behind. Wow.
part of it was this typing and cognitive psychology. Uh, that has taken a hold. I mean, really strong on me, and I watch probably an ungodly nerd level amount of content regarding this subject matter. And once I became aware of it enough to apply it to myself and to the people around me, that was it. Like that's kind of become my focus for a lot of things.
That's because you're a consumer first, right?
100%.
Okay.
Information is addictive. It is crack.
Yes, indeed it is. Indeed it is. What is your stack order?
My stack order, well, the ISTP is TISENIFE.
Right, and then how about the consume, play, blast, sleep one?
So the animal stack,
That's
I'm
it, the
consume
animals.
first. Yeah, I'm consume first, play second. So oddly enough, as an ISTP, I look for people to work with in spite of the FE last. I'm blast third, which means I do have unstereotypically some level of drive, not high, but some level of drive to do things. And lastly is sleep, which is basically defined as self-preservation or energy for the self before expending it on others. So uncharacteristically as well, I don't stop till I'm delirious with sleep most nights. I do. I consume. I play guitar till I'm falling asleep over it because the body just gives out. Um, so yeah.
Well, that was gonna be kind of my last question of the night here. Can you tell me a little bit about your guitar playing? Are you hooked up? Can you play us anything? Can you send us out with a song or anything?
I don't know how good the mic is going to pick it up, but sure, I could try.
I'd love it. I'd love it.
Uh, Absolutely. Give me 1 second to set it up.
What kind of
I don't have
guitars are they?
um, this is an Epiphone Les Paul Studio to be exact, and I seem to have an affinity for Gretsch guitars after that.
Right on, right on. Give us do you have anything anything original?
I
My
actually have a hard time playing other people's music.
great,
If I
great.
can't get it,
Because if you're
if I
too
can't get
good,
it,
I'll get copyright stricken. So
no, no, this is an original. This is an original. The thing is, if I can't play the people's covers as perfectly as they did, I feel like it's not worth it, and it's that TI perfection.
yeah,
Can you hear that?
yes.
All right, so let's give it a shot. Thank you for this opportunity, by the way.
No, thank you.
Almost.
Brother, brother, you
Thank
just
you,
blew my
thank you.
fucking socks off. Dude, dude,
Thank you.
that was fucking amazing. Dude, you
Thank you.
shred. Holy fucking shit, bro. How
I
long have you been
appreciate
playing?
that. Like seriously playing for the last 4 years, but I've been playing since I was 16.
Dude, you far and away exceeded my expectations. Um, wow, dude, that was right up my alley. You're obviously a Jimmy Page fan.
Yes,
Is
yes.
where who are your biggest influences?
Um, oh man, I'm so horrible with names. My dad was into the blues when I was growing up, so I think that trickled up subliminally as I really started to play. Patrick Sweeney uh, is one of them. A lot of blues rock. It
Okay,
just
I
out
was
of
hearing
nowhere.
Jimmy. I was hearing some Jimmy in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I was a big Led Zeppelin fan in high school. While people were listening to Dance and Trance, I was listening to Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
AC/DC, all the classic rock. But I grew up on that. So
Have you ever made an album with a band or a solo, or have you ever produced any of
you
this?
can you can find my music shorts. I don't contribute so much to YouTube as I do to Instagram. I have a profile with a lot of I do photography, semi-professional and hobby, and I put my music up there as well.
Dude, oh my God. Can you drop that link? Uh, send me the link to your Instagram, please.
I would be.
I'm
It would be
I'm
my
gonna
honor to do
absolutely
so.
put it in this description here. And you're like the only reason I'll go to Instagram. I literally don't even follow on Instagram, but I will go to hear that stuff. And man, I would love to collab with you someday about getting some